Hey, welcome back. It's the Coin Flip Podcast. We did a reaction to the NBA Finals. Now it's time to do a reaction to the NHL Finals, the Stanley Cup. The winners have been crowned. The Colorado Avalanche, for the first time in forever, are taking home the Stanley Cup. Back to Colorado. They took down the Tampa Bay Lightning. What's going on? Jacob Zimmerman joined by Martin Kelly. We're ready to dive on into this. Martin, you're a big hockey fan. I'm sort of fresh to the ice scene. I'm trying to, sprinkle some early 2 cents in here. You're the expert here, man. Overall, this hockey season was great. You ready for this?
Yeah, I am ready for this. It's been a while since we've done a podcast together and done an episode together. I wouldn't call myself really an expert. I'm still kind of learning the game itself, but I would just say that I'm an enthusiast. Let's just say that. But nonetheless,
So, overall, I'll kind of start this one off. I'll be asking a lot of the questions here to Martin, but I did watch just about all the games in this series, and I felt like the more games I watched, the more and more I was glued to the TV screen. Uh, I'll just start it off with the Lightning. I think I was rooting for the Lightning in this one, Martin. A three-peat in hockey? Are you kidding me? When does that ever happen? Or a 3-1 comeback in the Stanley Cup Finals? I don't think that's ever happened one
no.
time. So I was kind of rooting for them once they went down for sure. A lot of the time, it looked like the Avalanche were kind of just the better team. They controlled the puck on their side of the ice, constantly putting pressure on Vasilevsky. And even though he didn't have a bad, Stanley Cup Finals, it wasn't enough. And in 6 games, the Avalanche took it home. It just seemed like, a better overall, well-rounded team. Even though it looked like the Lightning had some star power in there. I know you had told me kind of throughout the season it wasn't quite the same Tampa Bay Lightning as we saw the last 2 seasons. But those are kind of some of my brief thoughts overall. Martin, what are your thoughts overall?
You know what? Touch on some of those. You're not wrong. Mentioned at the beginning of the season, this wasn't the same Tampa Bay Lightning team coming back. They did lose, a ton of talent over time. I mean, they've been to 4 Stanley Cups. They've been to 6 Eastern Conference Finals. They've been to 4 Stanley Cups. As I say it again, they've won 2. I mean, this has been in an 8-year, 9-year run for the Tampa Bay Lightning. They've been in the conference finals in 2014, in 2015, in 2020, 21, 2020, 2021, 2022, in 19, in 18. I mean, that's just so much hockey to play in 8, 9 years. And to get back to the series, I agree with you. Colorado was a better team. Colorado was just faster in every sense. I break this series down into 3 games, which is game 1, game 4, and game 6. Game 1 showed right off the bat how fast Colorado was and how unprepared Tampa was for how fast they were on the ice. And, in the first game, what I took away from it was that defensively, Tampa just got outplayed in every sense of the word. They got outplayed on the defensive side of the puck. They could not get the puck out of their zone. Colorado would have the puck in their zone from a minute to a minute 30 to possibly even close to 2 minutes at one point in this series. And, game 1 set the tone right away, which is Colorado's going to show that they're young, they're fast, they're quick, they got skating ability, and Tampa is tired because they got dogged out in 2 of their 3 series, went to 7 games, one against Toronto and one against I'm trying to remember their second. Excuse me, no, they went 7 games against Toronto, went 4 games against Florida, and they went 6 games against New York. So they were dogged out, they were tired, and I don't know. You talk about a three-peat. I wish I saw a three-peat. I mean, there's been opportunities for three-peats. The Blackhawks had an opportunity in 2014 if they didn't lose to the LA Kings. The 2018 Pittsburgh Penguins, who lost to the Washington Capitals. We haven't seen a three-peat champion since the 80s, New York Islanders. And the most impressive thing about the Islanders, then, they went to 5 straight Stanley Cup finals. Jacob, they went from 1980 until 1985, and were in every single Stanley Cup in those 5 years. And they won 4 of those. And it's just We've never seen that. We haven't seen anything like that. The game is too fast, too quick. The cap rules today with all the money, and you just didn't have those rules. You didn't have those speeds and didn't have that type of game back in the 80s, so you can get away with a lot of stuff. But now these days, the game's too fast, it's too quick, it's too skilled, it's too talented. The money's all tied up. There's no way for a 4 or 5 year Stanley Cup run. There's no way for a 3-time Stanley Cup champion. I don't think.
So a guy like you mentioned the Lightning, been around forever. I was kind of telling this story. I used to collect the Sports Illustrated Kids magazine cards. Every magazine issue, once a week, there'd be a sheet of 9 cards in the magazine. And I collected them, I put them in this binder. Anyway, I remember being like 9 years old and getting a Steven Stamkos card. Somewhere, maybe it's in the trash for all I know, or some attic, some basement covered in dust. That card is in that binder somewhere. And that just shows, how long Steven Stamkos has been a star in the NHL. I mean, I haven't followed hockey like that, but I at least know who Stamkos is. And Martin, when he scored that first goal of Game 6, I was thinking, oh, here comes Tampa Bay. They're going to force a Game 7. I was rooting for it on their home ice to get, to stay alive in Game 5 on the road is pretty impressive. To come back home, couldn't quite do it. But when Stamkos scored that goal, all the momentum was on their side. So they have some vets on that team. Absolutely. I thought Palat had a great playoffs. I think Vasilevsky overall is one of the best goalies in the league, but wasn't quite enough because of the Avalanche and Cale Makar, if I'm saying that correctly.
Yeah,
Martin.
you are.
The playoffs MVP. I don't know what the official name of that is.
Conn Smythe Trophy.
What was that?
So it's called the Conn Smythe Trophy. That's the overall Stanley Cup playoffs. So not just to kind of explain it, it'd be like if the NBA Finals MVP was decided throughout the entire NBA playoffs. So if they awarded that to Stephen Curry, they would have said he was the best overall player in the entire playoffs, not just in the finals. So the Conn Smythe Trophy is the overall best player in the playoffs. And actually, if you want to know a funny one, the award has gone to the Stanley Cup champion all but one time, and that was for a player named Brad Leach, who played for the 1977 Philadelphia Flyers. All but every time.
So the same thing like Jerry West.
Yes.
Nice.
So
Cale Makar, what did you think of his play? He was the youngest defenseman in however many years to win the award. He's only 23. That's a little bit older than me, a little bit younger than you, Martin. What did you think of his play throughout the playoffs?
First of all, I'm kind of embarrassing myself the fact that these 23-year-old and 24-year-olds and 22-year-olds are all, becoming Stanley Cup champions. They're walking around with, Stanley Cup championship rings, and I'm working from paycheck to paycheck. So I got to figure out something.
Hey, man, you're just like 99.999% of America.
So I got to figure out something what else to do in my life. But overall, Cale Makar surprised me. Cale Makar has shown that I think right now he is the best defenseman in the game. And, Victor Hedman, who was on the other side for Tampa, was seen as one of the top defensemen in the game, if not the best defenseman in the game. And, you got Drew Doughty still in the league. You got Zach Parise, who's another great defenseman. You got, there's a list of players, if I could actually see a list of players in front of me and come up with names, but there are a list of other defensemen that can throw their hat in the ring saying, I might be the best defenseman. But Cale Makar, it's been a while since a defenseman won the Conn Smythe Trophy, and it's been a while since a defenseman dominated the playoffs like Cale Makar did. It's impressive. It's completely impressive. And the most impressive thing about it is, Jacob, so if you want to know a little history on the Colorado Avalanche, go back before they made the 2017-2018 playoffs. 2016-2017 Colorado Avalanche, Jacob, finished with 48 points in the season. Basically, they're one of the worst teams in the NHL. After that, 48 points they only had. They were one of the worst teams. With the 4th pick in that draft, in the 2017 draft, they took Cale Makar, and they started him from day won as soon as he got
Wow.
into training camp. Since then, they have been in the playoffs. Second round losses after second round losses, and finally they're hoisting this Lord Stanley's Cup, and to go from 48 points dead last. Nathan MacKinnon was also on the Stanley Cup championship team. He was on that team that only had 48 points. To go from 48 points dead last in the NHL to Stanley Cup champions, that's impressive.
Certainly is, Martin. Any other players that stick out to you? I know, is it McMahon? What's his name?
MacKinnon?
Yeah, MacKinnon, Nathan MacKinnon.
Yes,
there we go.
yeah.
He's another young gun, just 26.
Yep.
He sort of played a big role in that one as well. You could argue he was the second best player on this team. What'd you think of him?
Well, I mean, when you got 13 goals and you're right behind Evander Kane on 13 goals in the entire playoffs, I mean, that puts you in the conversation for being one of the best players. You know, as much as I give Cale Makar credit for the fact that he won the Conn Smythe, he's just lucky that Connor McDavid didn't make it to, or Evander Kane didn't make it to the Stanley Cup Finals, because they gave him a run for his money too. Leon Draisaitl as well, and those Edmonton Oilers, and wow, they're going to be good one day. But, you know, Nathan MacKinnon played really well these playoffs. He's had struggles in the playoffs before, and Colorado's had issues with players staying healthy throughout the playoffs these past few years. And the fact is, they had a clean playoffs. No one got hurt, as in for long. Burakovsky got hurt for Colorado. I mean, he for a little bit. Darcy Kemper did get hurt for Colorado a little bit. They had to throw in Francois and the rookie backup in and play a couple minutes here in the Stanley Cup Finals, and give credit to Francois, who is a rookie right out of minor league and comes right up in the playoffs and plays pretty good with this Colorado Avalanche team. It's very impressive for a rookie goaltender. So, I mean, he's going to show that maybe when Darcy Kemper hangs it up, he's the next goaltender for Colorado. I mean, there was so many good moments from Nathan MacKinnon. How fast he was on the ice, how quick he was with his passing, how lethal he was getting to the net. Scoring 13 goals is not an easy, especially in the playoffs, especially when defenses are trying to zone you away from the net. They're trying to put a lot of players and a lot of bodies in front of you, and shot blocks are a big number. And you know, the number one team coming into the playoffs with shot blocks was Tampa Bay, and they were showing that they had the ability to block a lot of shots. They were doing that in the series against the New York Rangers. So you know what? Give Nathan MacKinnon credit. 13 goals. He had a couple goals in these playoffs. He had a couple goals in these Stanley Cup Finals. He's just an incredible player. He is, to me, one of the top three best players in this game. I think Leon Draisaitl, Connor McDavid, Nathan MacKinnon are your top three players. Right behind them, I'd put Austin Matthews and Mitch Marner.
So another guy, speaking of goals in the Stanley Cup Final, I think, and you can probably agree with this, the biggest moment, the moment that really broke it open for the Avalanche in this series, you go back, Game 4, it's a 2-1 lead for the Avalanche, and it's overtime. It's 2-2. And Nazem Kadri comes up big with a huge goal in OT that slipped past Vasilevsky, got stuck in the net for about 10 seconds. Nobody knew what was going on. All of a sudden, Colorado just starts celebrating, and they reviewed it, and it was clean as day. Kadri with the goal. I think that was the biggest play of the 2022 Stanley Cup Final.
You bring that up, and I agree with you 100%. I think that was one of the biggest goals in the game. I think the next biggest goal was in Game 6, obviously, to make it 2-1. I think that was, who scored that goal? So I'm looking it up here. Lehkonen scoring that second goal. I think that was the biggest one in the series. But back to your goal about Nazem Kadri, let's not put it aside here. Nazem Kadri has had a pretty rough playoffs over the last couple years, Jacob, with the fact is, in a couple of these playoffs, he was with Toronto, and he was one of their, good prospect players coming up, and he's showing that he could play, and he got trusted in the playoffs, and What does he do in back-to-back series against the Boston Bruins? He gets himself ejected out of the playoffs because he decided to go forecheck someone into the boards hard enough that the NHL decided to tell him, hey, kick the rocks, you're suspended the rest for the playoffs. And
Wow.
and it broke Toronto twice in series against Boston, in series that they lost in 7 games to Boston in back-to-back years. So Nazem Kadri's had this kind of, dark cloud hanging over him in the NHL. Is he a dirty player? Is he a clean player? Is his ability to shoot and to skate and to score enough for teams to overlook and say that he should be trusted as a top player for a top team? And you know what? The fact is, he's standing here as a Stanley Cup champion, the first Muslim player to ever win the Stanley Cup. I think that's incredible. A lot of people want to brush that away, but you know what? Let's shine on moments like that, because they don't always come. And you know what? For Nazem Kadri to go through what he's been through, I'm impressed. I'm proud of him. Yeah, that goal was big. And what stood out to me in that moment, Jacob, was I remember when I watched Chicago win the Stanley Cup, it was almost the same type of moment. Patrick Kane scores the goal into the net. Nobody knows if it's a goal or not. They're looking for the puck. Patrick Kane is skating all around the ice celebrating we won the Stanley Cup, and they do call it as a game. And that was the exact same moment with Colorado. Once you saw it on replay, it was a goal, but just Vasilevsky turned around wondering where it was. He didn't see it. It was stuck up on the top of the net, and the referee didn't see it until he decided to jump on top of the net and look over. But Nazem Kadri was the only one that knew it went into the net. And the thing about it is, Jacob, when you look at this series, you got to split it into down the middle between the first 3 games and the last 3 games. The first game was a game that Colorado showed that Tampa wasn't just going to walk over them and win their 3rd straight cup. Game 2 was a blowout. Game 3 was Tampa Bay showing that they could fight back and that this wasn't going to be a sweep. Game 4 showed that if Tampa came out fighting fast and quick and caught Colorado off tempo, that they can carry that throughout the game. But Colorado decided to just bite their time, be patient, tire out Tampa, and to the point where we could score enough goals. They did that in 4. They tried that in 5, but Tampa Bay survived, and they moved on to 6, and it wasn't enough, and Colorado wins the Stanley Cup. And a part of me goes back to, I wish I saw a 3-peat. It'd be nice to see a 3-peat. It'd be nice to see something like that. But also inside of me, I'm glad Colorado won their first Stanley Cup in the first time in 21 years since 2001, where they were a dominant run during that time as well. So the fact is, Colorado was the better team in this series, Jacob. They were faster. They were quicker. They kept Tampa in their zone the entire time. They tired them out. They weakened them on the penalty kill. They weakened them on the power play. Tampa Bay gave up more than 7 power play goals in this series. That is the most they have given up in this entire Stanley Cup run. And in all 3 of their Stanley Cup runs, 7 they haven't given up that many goals. But where I'm going also with this, Jacob, is they have been in 4 Stanley Cup appearances. Tampa played Chicago in 15 for the Stanley Cup. They played Dallas and Montreal for their 2 Stanley Cup wins, and then they faced Colorado in this last one. Montreal, Dallas were more teams facing on their defensive skills to create offense. Chicago and Colorado, Chicago was an experienced team that had all of it from being in the Stanley Cup a couple times and winning those games. Colorado was just a faster team. But the point is, when Tampa faced a team to the same level as they were and has some of the same competition, they fell down. But when they faced inferior competition, they took the Stanley Cup for themselves. Does that mean Tampa is a fraud as a Stanley Cup champion? No. Winning the Stanley Cup is one of the hardest things to do in sports. It is a straight-up dogfight to get to the Stanley Cup Finals and to win it, if anything. But they're 2-2 in the Cup Finals. They have 2 rings. They don't have 2 rings. They're impressive no matter what. This is a dynasty run, whether you want to call it that or not. To be this good during that much time is nothing but incredible, Jacob.
There was 2 plays, Martin, and this will kind of be my last point before I ask you the final closeout quick question. 2 plays that had me kind of laughing. One was the one where a shot that was going to go towards the goal. Instead, it hits off the blade of a skate, and the blade falls off the skate.
Oh,
And a
yes.
member of the Avalanche is trying to get back to the line change, and he can't get over. His teammates having to drag him because his blade's gone. And then
Yeah.
the other funny play was this huge check, and I don't even remember who it was on or anything. I think it was Tampa getting a guy of the Avalanche, but a nose had to have been broken in that play. There's no
Oh, yeah.
way someone can check you the hardest hit of the game into the glass, and you can just see the slow-mo replay of the nose going first into the glass, and it's right below that stupidly short visor they wear. Martin, I am all for the NHL copying what the youngsters are doing in college with the full face mask gear. I just think it's too easy for the puck to come up and hit somebody in the mouth on a shot towards the goal. But nevertheless, the blade falling off the skate, and some dude going nose first into the glass, from a basketball player's perspective, oh boy, that was great to see.
I really am glad you're a fan of the NHL now and not when the birth of the NHL started, because I hate to tell you this, kind of only in the sense that it's funny in my head and it's actually interesting. Did you know that no NHL players ever wore hockey mask or hockey?
I went and literally, Martin, I was thinking the same thing that you're thinking right now. I literally went and watched a video going through the history of the masks and helmets in the NHL.
Yeah, isn't it remarkable that goaltenders were made fun of and the fact that they were wearing masks because they never wore a mask? Can you imagine being a hockey goaltender during the early 30s and 40s of the NHL, not wearing a mask and seeing a 95-mile-per-hour puck coming at your face?
Yeah, it's really good. We have better modern day technology, and I think I don't know. They were just asking to die out there.
You know what? That was for the sport, and you know what? There's other great moments like that. I mean, I remember being a Blackhawks fan. There was in Game 7, Duncan Keith got hit in the mouth, and he spit out 7 teeth, and was in the back room getting simple surgery done on his lips because he damaged his lip, and came back out and played in Game 7 of a playoff game in the playoffs. And then Andrew Shaw, I think, took one, I think, above his eyebrow. Yeah, he took a puck to the eyebrow and got 8 stitches and came back and still played in the game. And I think he scored in that game and won us. I think that was in the Stanley Cup playoffs. I mean, check.
He's an inch away from being blind.
I mean, players are playing with broken hands, broken legs, broken limbs, broken arms, broken. I mean, they're playing with broken everything. I mean,
I don't understand the broken leg thing in hockey. I think you're better off just letting a backup go in the game at that point.
for the equipment that's happened before. And you know what the point of that is, and what people are wondering, like, why couldn't he get back up on his skate and just skate back? Well, the kind of problem with that is when you're skating on a very thin part of a skate, and when that blade is gone, the bottom of it doesn't have any real surface that can slide against the ice. It's basically just taking a plastic piece of metal, well, basically it's just a plastic piece on the bottom of your skate, and that's grinding against the ice, and there's no way to actually like skate forward, because with skates you're more hovering over the ice and instead of actually grinding into the ice. And yeah, I've seen that before, and that was just funny. Nathan MacKinnon dragging Landeskog, trying to get him over the bench, and why that was important was if Landeskog couldn't get off the ice, Tampa Bay in that Game 6 possibly, and this was one thing they were complaining about the entire time of the playoffs, was the fact that too many men on the ice calls weren't getting called. So if Landeskog didn't get off the ice or didn't crawl all the way to the very end, they would have had too many men, and he would have had to actually crawl to the penalty box instead of back over to his own bench.
So last question here, Martin. Make it a quick one. Are the Avs a lock to be back in the Stanley Cup final next year?
Yes. That's not even a question. Already they're way too early. Power rankings are already out. They're already the number 1 team. They do have some members to sign: Cagliano, Eric Johnson, Jack Johnson. They're gonna have to work out some contracts with some guys. Darcy Kemper might want a pay raise. Burakovsky, Nishkinen. So they're gonna have to pay some guys here in a couple years. Yeah, I totally see them coming back. This possibly could be another Tampa Bay situation. Could they get to 2 in a row, 3 in a row, 4 in a row, possibly? I could see them going back to back, but I don't ever see a three-peat. I just don't think it's possible.
That's going to do it. The NHL reaction to the Stanley Cup Finals 2022. Jacob Zimmerman, Martin Kelly tackling it all. If there's anything we missed, make sure to holler at us in the comments. We'll try to do a couple more of these. We'll find some big event to comment on. We'll keep it up.
Oh, yeah.
Martin, any closing thoughts?
Just this was a lot of fun. Let's try to do it again. That's basically it. Thanks for everybody listening.
Check out some of our other videos on the Coin Flip Podcast channel. Some awesome stuff. Stay tuned for more.